Pure-hearted and kind, the straight man Yunyi never expected that one chance encounter with a notorious flirt would almost change the course of his life. Yunyi came from a humble family that made a living selling sesame oil. Honest and straightforward by nature, he followed the advice of a well-meaning older man and set off alone to the Dai family, whose youngest son had just placed first in the imperial examinations, hoping to sell his incense and oil there. Unexpectedly, before he even reached his destination, he ran straight into the young master of the Dai family. Born into privilege, the young master was strikingly handsome, yet infamous for his indulgent tastes and dissolute lifestyle. The moment his eyes fell on Yunyi's sturdy, well-built body, so fresh and pleasing to look at, his interest was piqued. As it happened, there was a secluded villa hidden deep in the nearby mountains, a place he often used to conceal his pleasures from prying eyes. With that in mind, he followed the kind-hearted Yunyi the entire way, quietly scheming as he went. Seizing a moment when Yunyi wasn't paying attention, he slipped toward the slanted riverbank, pretended he couldn't see the path clearly, and deliberately tumbled into the water. When Yunyi pulled him back up, both of them were soaked from head to toe. Taking advantage of the situation, the young master casually, yet deliberately, ran his hand over Yunyi's body, then told him that there was an abandoned residence nearby where they could take shelter. Simple and unsuspecting, Yunyi believed him without question. He lifted the young master into his arms and rushed toward the villa. Once they arrived safely, the young master began to speak again, his tone deliberately suggestive. "Yunyi, I feel so cold. Could you help warm me up? Our clothes are completely soaked. Maybe we should take them off first, so we don't get sick." Though Yunyi was inexperienced in matters of intimacy, he knew his own lowly status well. He didn't dare stay alone in a room with a richly dressed young master like this. He forcefully pushed the man away, moved swiftly out of the room, shut the door tight, and called out loudly, "Young master, if you're cold, I'll go gather some firewood right away." That utterly clueless reaction, so unused to being pursued or tempted, struck the young master deeply. Someone who had long been accustomed to others throwing themselves into his arms found himself truly and fiercely moved for the first time. But what he never expected was that Yunyi was far more conservative than he had imagined. Rather than crossing any line, Yunyi would rather go out in the dead of night to gather firewood, heat the kang bed, and tend to the house, showing not the slightest intention of staying alone in the same room with Daeshim in any improper way. Even when Daeshim openly pulled back the covers and issued an enthusiastic, unguarded invitation, Yunyi was so frightened that he grabbed his clothes and fled in panic, disappearing into the night. This attempt to seduce his future wife failed spectacularly. Worse still, Daeshim caught a severe fever from falling into the river. After sleeping for an entire day and finally breaking the fever, he woke up groggily, only to see the very Yunyi he had scared away, curled up asleep in a corner of the room. As it turned out, even after running away, Yunyi couldn't stop worrying about Daeshim, who had been drenched to the bone. In the middle of the night, he returned to the mountain estate, only to discover that Daeshim had developed a high fever. Kind and soft-hearted by nature, Yunyi was filled with guilt, blaming himself for abandoning him earlier. From that moment on, he stayed by Daeshim's side, carefully tending to him as he lay feverish and unconscious. Watching Yunyi's sleeping face, Daeshim felt the affection in his heart grow even stronger. He gently reached out, brushing Yunyi's cheek, and murmured softly, "You could have just left me there. Why did you come back?" At that moment, Yunyi rubbed his eyes and woke up, noticing that Daeshim was awake. He immediately sat up and said, "Lie down and rest a bit more. I'll go get you something to eat." Looking at this warm, diligent, sunshine-filled man, Daeshim made up his mind. No matter what it takes, this man, I must marry him and bring him home as my wife. In one decisive move, Daeshim bought up all the sesame oil Yunyi had brought with him. His real intention was simple, to leave Yunyi with nothing urgent to do, so he would have a reason to stay by his side a little longer. As the two spent more time together, they came to understand each other better, and affection slowly blossomed between them. Daeshim knew all too well that Yoonyi came from a humble background and held deep-rooted class notions. Outwardly honest and steady, Yoonyi was also deeply insecure. Daeshim feared that Yoonyi might one day decide he was unworthy and choose to leave him. So, while the feelings were still hot, he acted decisively. That very night, he summoned his parents and openly came out to them. Hugging Yoonyi proudly, Daeshim said with a bright smile, "Let me introduce you. This is the person I will marry or no one at all. My future wife." Daeshim's father, a straight-laced man through and through, could not accept it at all. "You unfilial brat, what nonsense are you talking about? Since when is someone else's daughter-in-law a man?" Those words made the already anxious Yoonyi waver even more. Fortunately, Daeshim's mother was an open-minded, wealthy woman. She took an immediate liking to the honest, simple, and kind young man before her. All right, old man, stop making a fuss. If our son likes him, that's all that matters." With his wife having spoken, the henpecked patriarch could only stomp his feet and shout angrily, "Fine, fine. I won't you anymore. Do whatever you want." Only then did Daeshim take Yoonyi's hand, gaze at him with deep affection, and confess, "I fell in love with you at first sight. Are you willing to grow old together with me?" Surrounded by happiness, Yoonyi felt as though there was only one choice left: to be loved. In the end, they held their wedding ceremony and went on to live a happy life together.